Hey guys, what's up? You know what time it is. Eddie Gray, back at it again. Endless Studio. Guys, I'm so absolutely elated about this. I did a video on this earlier. Now I'm back because quite honestly, I want to get into the user guide. I want to get into the manual. This is how you can really learn the ins and outs of a program. So we're going to get right into it. For those of you who are scholarly, for those of you who are into the craft, you're fully committed 2 feet in, let's do this. Endless Studio is a powerful cloud-connected multi-track looper with built-in performance, instruments, and effects, allowing you to quickly sketch out ideas and collaborate with other users around the world. All right, you can troubleshoot if you want to get in touch. There's the information. Let's talk about system requirements. You need Mojave or anything past that, guys. If you do not have Mojave, Catalina, Big Sur, you are out. Digital audio workstation that supports either AU or VST3. Look, I got to be honest, I didn't know this was an AU plugin that you could potentially use inside of your DAW. I didn't know that's what I was downloading, so I'm particularly excited now because I get to use this inside of Logic. All right, we talk about installation. If you're having trouble finding the app, here's where the standalone is, and then the AU. You know what? I'm going to do this right now off camera. So let's go to my components folder and then just double check that that is right, because if it is, guys, this is really awesome. Here, wait, we got Endless. Here it is. All right. I had no clue. So hopefully if we have enough time, we'll be doing the standalone version, and then I'll use it inside of Logic as well. That is exciting. All right, so first time use. When you open Endless Studio, you will need to log in with the same account you purchased and downloaded it from. This is to make sure that you have access to all the great things inside Endless Studio. Remember that this is a hybrid workflow, meaning you can start on your phone, you can start sketching out an idea. You're on the train, you're on the bus, you're riding shotgun on the way home on an Uber or something. And then when you get home, you can get right back to it on the desktop. So it's all encompassing. All right, so let's look at the interface. It's very important to always know how to see the interface. My work in Logic has taught me this. I've taught thousands of people all across the world. I've got a world-class Logic system that I teach over at hfmusicacademy.com. So here we go. Jams and the sidebar. So if you're looking either for a solo jam, your own personal library, you can find that here, but you also have access to public jams. So this is like where you're collaborating with people all over the world, and people are making all kind of music. Like I've heard ambient, chill, aggressive, techno, and so all of that can be found right there. All right, all of the sounds themselves, riffs, which is one of the keywords that they like to use for ideas or clips or loops that you can generate, would be found right here. And then jam details. So we'll get into that in a second. At the top bar, you've got the global settings. So we've got metronome, play function, and then what is this little button right here? Let me see something real quick. What's this guy? Okay, so that's your quantization value. So if you want everything to quantize to 16th notes, 8th notes, quarter notes, 32nd notes, that would be all there. What is that? All right. Cool. We're having fun tonight, guys. We're having fun tonight. All right. So let's see here. We've got the Riff History right here. Now what this means is, let's say I play in an idea. In fact, let me just do it now, and I'll start creating some riffs. So then now this becomes a riff inside of Endless. So let's start adding to the idea. All right, you know what? I got to change my buffer speed. So I'm going to go from 512 to, let's go 256. Quick disclaimer, I've noticed that the program does crash from time to time. I do believe that since it's its first iteration, there are some issues, but really it's not that big of a deal. All right, so got the riff history here, right? You can see that the ideas start to form, and then you can kind of start selecting all your various ideas. So let's say that I didn't like that particular idea or the execution wasn't there. You can go back and you can kind of go back in time. Let's say you wanted to delete this. You can just delete that riff right there. And so this is a conglomerate of all your ideas in real time, which is truly unprecedented. All right, let's go back into it. We also have the riff settings, key, scale, BPM, time signature. You essentially cannot play anything wrong. All right, even if you don't know music theory, maybe you just got started today, this is the perfect opportunity for you to learn this DAW, this instrument. It really is an instrument. All right, bottom, we got the looper. All right, this is where you have the typical 16 pad workflow. You've got some controllers here on the left, ADSR, a little bit of reverb. The looping section, which I'll talk about extensively, you have 3 different loop modes. You've got simple, you've got advanced, and then you have the punch in and out feature. So we'll get into it. The jam sidebar. The sidebar on the left of the interface is for navigating around the community and the jam level features, which we talked about. Join public jams or just browse post-ifs on the Riff feed. I've never seen that actually, so let me just check that out. So here's riffs. So we're talking riffs from all over the world. Let's go ahead and take a listen to 1 or 2 of these. So let's say that's something that captivated you and took you somewhere. You could go in there and then start remixing that if you wanted to. We're not going to do that now. Here are all the various public jams. As mentioned before, here are the songs that I've been working on and then the song that we're currently touching right now. All right, guys, let's see. Top bar contains all the global settings. We talked about the play function metronome, but we also have MIDI mapping. So if you have a MIDI controller in front of you, maybe you have something like the Launchpad XL. You can start twisting knobs, moving sliders. It's insane. Okay, what else we got? Record quantization, and then the metronome, which I went to. All right, sounds, riffs, and jam details. In this section, you can control the devices you have selected and the sounds you load for a given device. Here you can also view details of your riffs and chat with others in a collaborative jam. So this is like a social media multi-platform for looping and live performance and collaboration. I'm going to use this so much. I'm extremely excited. Now, the one part that did get me, though, is they have you control devices you have selected and the sounds you load. So, all right, so this is how we get some information. Good. Riff details. I see another tab here. Jam details. Maybe because I'm not inside of a jam. And that's probably where you would end up chatting. So there you go. I'm going solo mission on this one, though. All right. Looper area. We talked about that. You've got the retrospective looper, the macro controls for the current sound, and the play area with the pads. Now, I literally turned this thing on, and it already knew my controller. So when I have, for example, drum selected, it just maps it across all the keys chromatically. So, and then it, just goes up chromatically. So I don't have to try and find just the 1 C2 or, if I'm looking for that snare that's on A1, I don't have to fiddle around. I could just poke around and find it. So that's pretty sweet. Conversely, when it comes to harmonic instruments, bass, it is chromatically set up. So I can play all the way down in the lower register. And then you can also just play really high as well. So pretty amazing stuff. All right, let's keep going here. In this area, you can adjust the volume or mute layers. So we have a kind of mixer. Let's look at that really quick. So let's say you have a performance going on. So all of this can be controlled inside of this mixer. And as I understand it as well, there's some kind of intelligent mixing that's going on in the background as well. So we'll look into that as well. All right, let's keep going. Recording your first loop. Endless Studio is focused around a retrospective audio looper. This seems to be a term that I've been hearing a lot here. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. Depending on the device you have selected, audio will feed into the looper. Unlike a traditional looper where you may need to come up with an idea, hit record, and then play it again, in Endless Studio, the looper is always recording as soon as you start playing. You then just commit the loop after playing something you are happy with. Again, insane. The looper is split into 4 segments of increasing length. So this is the advanced looper mode, just to be clear. This lets you capture the last 1, 2, 4, or 8 bars that you played at the current bar length. Now, this is all contingent on the tempo, how fast or how slow this goes. You can capture it at any time, not just at the start or end of a bar. To create your first loop, start playing a device such as the drums. Then as soon as you are happy, tap on the looper to commit to the last few bars of audio. So again, quick example. Let's turn on the metronome. Let me go ahead and MIDI map that so I don't have to keep doing this throughout the video. See if I could, oh, it's not MIDI mappable. Is there a key command? All right, I gotta get into that. So let's just turn it on for now, and we will go from there. Hold on. All right, my buffer size. So right now, I can select 1 bar if I get the idea right and I want it to play over. Let's do something over 2 bars where I want there to be an initial section and then like a fill at the end, okay? So maybe I can do, hold on, let me think about this. Yeah, I'll do that, okay. So you can see that I waited that amount of time so we can have the first initial loop play, and then you get the actual performance thereafter. All right, let me see if I can get this buffer to play a little bit tighter. Man, it's a little late on my end, but that's cool. All right, so that's kind of the main idea, and that could be done in 1 bar, 2 bars, 4 bar, 8 bars. Again, you can change that mode. If you go up here to looper mode, here we have advanced, and here's simple. So this one's a little different insofar as all we're doing. In fact, let me start a new here. Hold on. Let me see if I can. My jams. Let's go to, what is it? Start a new jam. Let's call this YouTube. All right, cool. And then now this is a clean slate. All right, and then let's turn on that metronome. All right, so it's kind of a fixed length, right? All right. And then you're just kind of adding to this over and over and over again. All right, let me fix my quantization settings. I actually believe that was off as well, so that was kind of messing me up here. Hold on. Let me click and hold. Can I control the quantization value? If I click and hold, what's the secret here? All right, there's something to it. Maybe you have to click and, there it is, click and hold. All right, so 16th notes. Let's see if we can get a better sound here. Let me find my, all right, here we go. So then now I'll change instruments and just keep adding to the ideas. All right, I don't really like that sound. Let's go to one of these sound packs, maybe. Now, I'm not sure if you caught that, but I actually recorded that bass sound and I was able to add the parameter changes in real time. So there wasn't any latch automation trick. I literally was playing in the part, playing with the MIDI parameter. And by the way, that could have been MIDI mapped in advance. We're not there yet. And I was able to record the idea. So listen to that filter cutoff as the sound opens up. Crazy. Wow, that's amazing. All right, let's keep going here. Where did we leave off? So let's see. The looper is split into 4 segments. All right, so I just showed you the simple way. I personally like the advanced way. I can see both being pertinent. Now, the best part, guys, you can actually MIDI map this. So, this can all be kosher. You can literally just map it to a controller, have it be all very functional. So setup time will probably take a minute. But let me tell you, once you get this thing up and running, you are going to be accelerating at such a rapid rate. I'm telling you. All right, so you understand the idea of creating your first loop, adding drums. All right. Once you've committed to this, it will start playing back in one of the 8 layers in the mixer. This is your riff. So there's 8 layers: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, I've got some of these turned off. So it looks like this kind of made some decisions for me. It separated the hi-hat, the kick and the snare are here. So now I can treat these individually. So in terms of just the hi-hat, I'm going to treat just the hi-hat right now, okay? So that's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so let's go to the effects section. And then let's add just a simple, let's do some delay, all right? Let me go ahead and do this, and then we'll play it out. And then the looping concept applies. So now we're just looping an effect on an already existing part. Here we go. Okay, oh yeah, one thing I should say, you have to select the part that you're trying to affect. In this case, I'm trying to affect the hi-hat. So this purple button is telling Endless, hey, this is the one that I want to treat. Here we go. So like right there, okay, so I capture the performance. And then let me not isolate this element anymore by bringing all the various parts in. Again, all MIDI mappable. Wow, this is bananas, guys. I love it. I'm so excited. I'm definitely going to be using both the standalone and the iPad version. I mean, just literally a couple hours ago, I was in my bed, just hanging out on my phone, playing with this nonstop. I finally got the sampler to work as well, which I'm excited to talk about. But here, let's keep going into it. A riff is the state of all the 8 layers, including the loop in each, the level of each, and the additional settings like tempo, key scale, and time signature. Anytime you add or you remix a layer, a new riff is created. If you adjust the volume in the mixer or any of the additional settings, click the Create New Riff button to make a new riff with these settings. So where is that button? Create new riff. Okay, I see that right above, right here. All right, so I guess let me understand that a little bit better. Let's put play. This part, hold on, let me check in here. So I understand that riffs, like a picture of all the 8 layers. And so when you hit create a new riff, this is going to give you a new riff with these settings. So let's say maybe you have the next scene, if you will, and you drop the hi-hat significantly in. Okay, that's simple. You hit create new riff, or if you hit the looper function, it's going to create a new riff inside of the riff details. And then again, this is where you can export the stems, export the movie. Let's say you want to post this on your socials, then export stems, and then you can share just the riff if you wanted to, and then you can delete the riff as well. All right. Pretty basic. Let's keep. Your riff history is always there, so you can easily revert back to a previous riff if you want. So this is great. Let's say you start really building something up, and then you want to bring it back down a size. You can just do that with a click of a button. You can access your riff history directly in the main view or under the Riffs Details tab. In the riff history directly in the main view. So I would assume that means this. I can't really see this as well. I know on the iOS app it looks amazing. You get all the little graphics. This does not look as awesome, but I believe this is just my version as well. I thought I saw some graphics where it looked a little bit more enticing, but let's keep it moving. When a riff is created, the color of the riff icons are made up of a wrapped around waveform of each layer. And this is brilliant, by the way. The colors of each layer is determined by the device used to create each loop. So red is indicated by drums, blue bass, yellow notes or harmony rhythm, effects, green sampler. You can resample and mix your stuff or remix your stuff. Any external microphones, keyboards, guitars, and then everything combined is in white. So that's kind of another feature, is that you can literally take all the components and create a remix, and it turns into one new riff in which you can now jam with, remix, change. It's amazing. All right, so within Endless, there are a number of different devices. Give you a broad range of music making tools. These include built-in instruments, audio recording, powerful and unique samplers, and expressive performance effects. All right, so when we talk about the drums, you got 16 individual samples. Each kit can be played on a screen, played via a MIDI input. The bottom left pad, which is usually a kick, can be triggered by C1. It is then repeated every 16 notes. So that was genius, whoever came up with that. Just a great wherewithal when it comes to performance, right? Great foresight, the ability to see just kind of everything. Like, hey, we're going to need to map this all across. I love it. All right, the Notes device contains a collection of curated sample-based sounds covering mainly polyphonic sounds. You got pads, leads, keys. From each sound, there is a collection of macro parameters to allow you to tweak the sounds further. Now, again, my favorite part is you can change this up in real time. The on-screen grid follows the scale and key selected for the riff. So if you go on the right-hand side here, we can select Ionian, Major, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian. So if we do something like Phrygian, you know that we're going to get a kind of very Eastern. keep it moving here. Notes. The notes, wait, we just talked about that. Let's keep going. Bass. The bass device is very similar to the notes device, but instead it focuses around bass. Again, each sound is a single sample with a collection of macro controls to allow you to personalize and tweak the sound. Despite the categories, notes and bass, sound's going to be pitched up or down to be used for either purpose. So in other words, you can use notes for bass or you can use bass for notes. The sounds were merely designed with those uses in mind. The distinction makes it easier to quickly find a specific sound while you're in the flow. I love it. These guys thought of everything. The sampler is another melodic instrument, and I'm sure it's multifaceted, which allows you to sample audio from one or more layers and then play that sample back across the keyboard range, allowing you to create totally new sounds on the fly. Choose between the different sampler sounds to get different playback articulations. All right, so let's check out what that means. To sample an existing layer, this is the part in my last video that I didn't register, is you have to hit record. So we're going to do that right now. Select the sampler device in the mixer, targets the layer you want to sample. See targets, so you have to target what it is you want to sample, and then press the record into sampler button, which can be MIDI mapped. Again, sweet. Press it again to stop sampling. Now you can play that sample across the keyboard range. The sampler assumes that you record a sound at the root of the key. Wait, the sampler that you record a sound at the root of the key. Okay, cool. That makes sense. So let's go, let's see if we can play something. Go into the sampler mode. I'm going to feed the information of this element right here. All right. So then now I have to record into sampler right here on the right hand side. So let's go ahead and hit that. I don't think it did it. The only reason I'm saying is because I didn't see anything live. Hold on. I see what's going on. I thought I was hitting the target. I was hitting the mutes, hence the names up here. Targets, mutes, levels. Yeah, I gotcha. All right, here we go. Record. Okay, so I just took that second layer. So let me play that back. Let's see if this works properly. Hold on. Okay, so right now I'm not finding the sampler, and I don't understand why. Yeah, so this is the part that was getting me earlier. Wasn't sure what the difference is. Let's try it one more time. If not, we will abandon ship. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we've got different sample modes. Here's straight. Let's just try short and see what this sounds like. So it's the original sample, but with this new mode. Now, what's interesting about this playing is I can play as fast as possible, but depending on my quantization mode, it's not really going to matter. So if you want to get off of the grid, you're going to have to, do that by hand here. And I got to get used to what that feeling is. I think it's click and hold. It seems to be kind of dicey. All right, so that's that mode. Here's looped. All right, let's see if I can find something that sounds decent. zap. I should kind of like that. I'll just use that as an effect. Oh, wait, don't freeze on me. Here we go. Don't freeze on me. Here we go. There we go. And then it froze. And so that's what I've been talking about. When there's a lot of processing like that, I find that it usually crashes. So no worries. We're going to get right back into it. It does save everything. So part of the game, guys, it's in beta. I've noticed that the app is very stable, like rock solid. Let's see if it kept my idea, though. No. All right. And it doesn't really matter because this is what the whole thing is all about anyway. All right, effects. The effects device contains a great range of effects that can be used as both performance effects or to mix, produce, and shape your layers and riffs. What I did earlier today was I devised my own riff, and then I literally consolidated everything into one of the tracks, and then I created another song. Absolutely great workflow. The range of effects covers everything from distortion, dynamics, filters, pitch, modulation, delays, and reverbs. Very comprehensive list. Appendix B. When loading any effect, you will have access to both an XY pad and macro dials to fine-tune and set the levels of the various parameters available. When using the XY pad, the effect will only be enabled when the on-screen pad is interacted. So you have an enable control. It's kind of like a latch. Pretty cool. Like any other device, the output of the effect will be recorded. Yeah, we got that. When routing just one layer through the effects device via the targets, that's the key. The resulting recorded loops will replace the original layer. So, for example, you can target just the drums, and let's say you put some nice washy reverb, then your drums will stay wet. You're not going to hear the dry version anymore as soon as you engage that loop function. When routing multiple layers through an effect, all layers that are targeted at that time will be merged into one and then replaced with the recorded loop. Amazing, amazing. Top tip, an effect doesn't need to be actively used to do this. So you can use this technique to transparently merge layers together and make room for more, rather than letting the layer allocation algorithm take charge. And make room for more rather than letting the layers allocate. Okay, so I think what that means is that you can consolidate tracks, but again, I'm still wrapping my head around it all. So you can use an external mic as well as playing the internal instruments and effects. You can record yourself in directly, guys. You can use a harp, a zither, analog drum machine, the Prophet, whatever. When selecting the external audio device, you can monitor and adjust the level, which is sweet. You can also select if you wish to listen to the incoming so you can monitor yourself. Okay, so all of this makes sense. If you're a looper, if you're somebody that loves to engage yourself physically, mentally, and vocally in a session, this is fire. With this off, you will only be able to hear the recorded audio after you have committed your loop to a layer. One side effect of having the monitor switch on is that you have, for example, an audio loop coming into Endless. Once you commit a loop recording, you will hear both the incoming audio and the recorded loop. To avoid this, you can switch on monitor until looped, which will switch off monitoring as soon as you commit a loop. Okay, so maybe we could try that out. While running Endless as a standalone app, you can set the audio device and channel input within the app settings. In the plugin version, you need to route audio to the plugin. For details on how to do this, okay, cool. So now there's some more information there. I may just do a separate video on that altogether. So in terms of recording yourself really quick, you can see doing my thing here. And hold on, let me reference what they were saying here. Top tip to avoid this, and you want to highlight the stuff that's particularly important that you may not remember right away. So monitor until looped. I'll click on that, and you can see it's just keeping track of what I'm doing. Check 1 2 check 1 2 check 1 2 check 1 2. Wow, I don't know who made this, but here you go. Here's my voice. 1 2. Wow, I don't know who made this. Check 1 2. Wow, I don't know who made this. Check 1, 2. Wow, I don't know who made this. Check. 1, 2. Wow, I don't know who made this. Check. 1, 2. Wow, I don't know who made this. Check. 1, 2. Wow, I don't know who made. So like right there, you can hear I was holding the effect, but then when I let go of it, it stops. So if you hit enable, it's gonna hold on the whole time. Right? So then now I have to turn it off in order to disengage it, but that would be kind of the workflow there. If you want something to carry over for the entire length of 1 bar, of 2 bars, of 4 or 8, you would enable the effect, whether it's a delay, a saturator, or what have you, and then that would work. By the way, one of my favorite feature sets, which we haven't even gotten into, is the infinite effects by Endless. Really, really crazy stuff. I'm going to go back into my jams and let's go back into YouTube. Ah, there it is right there. All right, so let me just show you this real quick, okay? So if I go back into sounds, we go into effects, I go into infinite effects, and I go into the key masher. Check this out, guys. This is insane. You can just like completely warp these. It's just such a nice workflow. Here you go. Oh, so remember, we have to target what we're trying to affect. In this case, everything. So again, all of this can be MIDI mapped as I understand it. Let me double check on that. If I click on there. Yup. Amazing. All right, and this is crazy because you can literally pitch this up and down and then reset the pitch. Listen. So now I'm going to consolidate everything. Check it out. So you can see that all of that has been consolidated just to one file right here, right? Which is track number 1, or would this be called? Yeah, I guess track number 1. So if I mute this, there's no more music, right? This is it. So then now I can filter this out, right? So let's go back to the regular native effects and let's go with the low or high pass. And so then while this is playing back, you can start creating another loop. Check this out. There's that crash again. Guys, when this is fixed, it's going to be absolutely ridiculous. So anyway, let's keep it moving here. We're on mixing and remixing layers. To help you balance the different layers and to also help create different variations of riffs, of course, you're going to want to mix. And again, let's say you bring the volume down of the bass or the volume up of the hi-hats or the notes, you can in effect create a new riff from that. When a layer is active, you can control the level and mix your different layers. directly within the mixer view. Every time a new riff is created, the level will reset to 0 dB. That's pretty cool, right? So everything kind of always goes back to 0. You can mute any layers to help create variations, for instance, cutting out the snares. Muting a layer doesn't necessarily take it out of the riff. It can still be unmuted later. Again, incredible. However, when adding new layers to the riff, the layer allocation algorithm will pick empty or muted layers to fill first. So a muted layer could potentially be overwritten. Okay, so this is good news right here, right? There is the layer allocation algorithm. So there is something making some decisions for you. If you want a layer to be muted but not overwritten, dial down its volume completely rather than muting it. Okay, that's cool. So if you want that hi-hat or that percussion to take precedence, you don't want it to be removed, do not mute it, just bring down the volume. All right, let me go ahead and instantiate this again. Maybe from here on out, I just won't perform super like heavy task, all right? So let's see if we still got, no, this is just the same thing that was going on before. And so let's see, under my jams, go back to, all right, so that's still going here. So that's fun. All right, so creating a new riff, mixer settings like mute and volume are stored within a riff. All right, so let me bring down the kick. All right, so I've muted this, and so I'm going to create a new riff from that section. And so then now, and I've noticed this section particularly is not working that well, so I hope this doesn't crash. But if I go back to this riff on the left-hand side, which it's not even activating right now, so let me just avoid that altogether. Let's just keep moving. But the point is that it would create that riff or that scene for all my machine users, for scenes for the Ableton Live users as well. We have, the vertical layer, and same goes for Logic Live Loops now. Okay, so we got the targets within the mixer. You can also find the target switches, which determine the routing of the different layers. So this is how you route stuff, which is pretty sweet. Endless Studio will always select the last added layer by default. However, you can target any combination layers to be used with the effects or sampler. Note when multiple layers are processed through the effects or sampler, they will be combined into a single layer. So this is kind of an important thing. If you are affecting with delay the drums, notes, bass, and your voice, it's going to create one new single layer. It's going to consolidate that, right? To be used with effects or sampler. All right, so that's your choice. You get to decide how that's going to work out. All right, so you see the graphics I was telling you about? See, I'm not really getting those on my screen, so not sure what's going on here. Seems like they kind of want to start. They look like baby seeds or something right now. They're not germinating quite yet. But here, let's keep rock and rolling here. Record quantization keeps you in time when playing any of the internal instruments, drums, notes, bass sampler, by delaying the result of any incoming MIDI until the next step. To enable record quantization, tap the icon in the tap bar. Okay, so I tried that. Let's try that again. Yeah, okay, so you got to hit that little arrow. I guess it's not really that complicated. It's just you got to hit that sweet spot. All right, so if you want to do something off the grid, I would assume that you would turn that off, and you should be able to do that with no problem. Let's keep going. Let's see here. Metronome guides you, pretty basic. You want to hear it over loud riffs or play it quietly if you're starting from scratch. To adjust this, click on the arrow. If you're using record quantization, it is useful to enable the metronome when you start a riff, obviously, to make sure you can easily stay with the beat and quantization doesn't shift the timing of the notes. All right, all basic stuff. These settings are specific to the riff. So yeah, set your key. I think that's basic enough. You can also change the time signature, loop, or bar length of the current riff. The number on the right is the note value that will represent one beat and is always set to a quarter note. Quaver. The left number changes how many of these beats are in a bar. If If you're wanting to extend the loop range of endless to longer than 8, you can set the left number to be higher. For instance, if you create a time signature of 8/4, the maximum loop length will double to 16 bars. All right, so we can use different time signatures. Gotta love it. We talked about all the looper modes, right? You've got the simple mode, advanced, which allows you to loop just 1 bar, 2 bars. Let's say you want silence for the second half. You can do that here, 4 bars, or if you need something to be really long and progress over time, that would be 8 bars. The punch-in mode is the classic loop pedal style. You enable it, you record into it, captures the idea, you hit record. So we're not going to cover that. To avoid any timing errors in how multiple loops play together for the punch-in mode, the loop will quantize to the nearest 16th note. All right, so that is that. So you can use this with Ableton Link, which is incredible. This is now going into the settings. So that's top right here in the menu. Let's look into some of the settings. So when we're talking about your riffs, especially when jamming with others, you may find that you want to stick to a specific tempo and to not allow it to jump about. With this enabled, the tempo is not recalled when a riff is loaded. And so it plays back at the fixed tempo that you have selected. So that's interesting. I wonder if you can have an idea that's working and then just start borrowing from other people. And I'm still getting clear on all this. When running Endless Studio as a plugin, if you have host controls tempo enabled, your DAW will control the tempo regardless of this setting. Okay, so I definitely have to play with that just to assimilate, but I can't wait to use it in the DAW, man. This is crazy. I had no idea they were going to do that. I thought it was just a standalone. I would have been happy with just the iPad app. The fact that we got the desktop version now, I'm so elated. All right, autoplay. With autoplay turned on, an incoming riff from other jammers will automatically be selected and start playing. This always keeps you on the latest riff and reduces the chance that 2 or more jammers will branch out from one riff, keeping the riff history nice and linear. Whoa. So I've done the global jam thing here and there. It's, I prefer doing it on my own. So maybe this has to do with that. And reduces the chance that 2 or more will branch out from one riff and keep the... Okay. It helps to turn autoplay off if you want to quickly browse back through the riff history. For example, to record an older layer into sampler without automatically being switched. All right, you guys right there, you blew my mind. Note names. If you're using a device that uses the melodic grid, talking about bass, notes, and sampler, with this option, you can see, is it a C, sharp? Is it a D? These are based on the scale and key selected. Yes, I love it. Push to control compatibility. That's awesome. Clock source. This is only available when running the plugin version. When this is set to external, Endless Studio will be locked to host tempo. Okay, roger that. The tempo will automatically update based on the tempo of your host and will not be able to set within the plugin. Okay, cool. And then this is only available when running plugin version. When this is enabled, Endless Studio will be locked to the DAW's transport. Endless Studio will play and pause. Yep, got it. And your host, you can manually play pause within Endless Studio. However, the host transport will need to be running to do this. Okay, so basically there's a relationship between your DAW, common stuff. These settings will only show up when using the standalone version. Here you can set the audio device, which channels to use, a sample rate, buffer size. The audio input of Endless Studio is stereo. If only one input channel is selected, it will be audible on both the left and the right channel. If 2 input channels are selected, they are treated as left and right. Okay, cool. That's good to know. Let me go ahead and highlight that. See, in a DAW, if you would have done that, you would have only heard it on one channel, right? I'm sure that's happened to some of us out there. All right, so MIDI mapping. Oh, cool. I didn't realize that you can use your keyboard as a MIDI controller. I love it. All right. So let's see here. To allow quick and easy control of Endless Studio and to be able to use it as a performance tool, you're able to create and save MIDI mappings. That's amazing. Let's see, is there a key command to... Not that I know of. Let me go up here. Okay, cool. For many MIDI parameters, you're able to create a MIDI assignment between it and MIDI CC. You can then save and recall any collections of these as a MIDI mapping. So this is great, right? So you have a couple controllers, maybe some different situations, like maybe on Instagram, you have certain performances, you have one controller, maybe you play out live or for, for like a webinar or streaming situation. Yeah, I love it. To access this, click on the MIDI icon in the top right corner. Once in MIDI mapping mode, the sound browser will change to the MIDI mapping browser, very similar to the Ableton workflow. When you load or create a new mapping, any changes you make to any MIDI assignments will be automatically saved to that mapping. Okay, cool. When in MIDI mapping mode, any parameter that can have MIDI assignments will be highlighted with a green box. To create an assignment, just click on the parameter and then move the MIDI hardware you wish to assign. So let's say I wanted to map the volume, right? Grab one of the sliders on my controller and looks like it's been mapped to CC16. So then now when I move the slider, let me turn this on, you can see that it's moving just like that. Sweet. Okay. Why is this playing back? All right, let's see what the top tip is. When working with a MIDI controller with buttons, you may find it behaves as a toggle on and off switch, or momentary on when pressed, off when released. In Endless, some parameters are toggles and some are triggers. This is really cool, right? You've got two kinds of MIDI, on and off, and then you have 0 to 127. Very cool. So you may need to adjust the modes of the button on your hardware to accurately mimic the control in the software. All right, so those are good tips right there to highlight. Let's say you need to refer back to this, right? You've already kind of done the work in advance. If you come up with the MIDI mapping for an external controller and you wish to share it with other users and wish to use this is great, right? Communal love. Wish to share a mapping from another user, you can do so by using the import-export feature. For a loaded MIDI mapping, just click export and then choose where to save it. To import that back in, select import. Cool. To make it quick to control Endless without a MIDI controller, your computer keyboard comes automatically mapped. So this is sweet, guys. They did all the work for us. All we got to do is just have fun now, and that's it. Here, let's finish up here, exporting your riffs. So this can be a great sketch pad for ideas. For some of us, I'm sure you guys are just going to crush it. You're just going to make the most unbelievable music possible. But you may want to take your ideas further, right? We know that there are benefits to having a DAW. This is not the end-all, be-all. Certainly, this could be a very strong companion. It could be a great idea generation tool, and it can also just be a great way to get yourself in the zone, get yourself inspired. To make this easy, you can simply click on the currently selected riff and then drag it onto a folder on your Mac. What? Jeez. They got me with that one. Hold on. Is this for real? I'm just going to grab this. Hold on. That's the wrong way. What? Hold on. Oh, maybe from up here? There's something. I missed something. Come on. You can simply click on your currently selected riff and then drag it onto a folder on your Mac. Okay, well, from what I understand, the riffs are up here, and maybe because mine are not enabled, but then the riffs are also right here, so I should be able to, okay. Well, anyway, you can export the stems from here for sure. So here, why don't I just do this real quick? Let me send these over to the desktop just so you see what it looks like. Let's see if I can show you that. One sec. All right, so basically everything is zipped up, nice and easy. Let's see, they give you the BPM and everything. Look at that. Let's listen to a couple of these. Pretty amazing stuff. All right, guys, Eddie Gray signing off. Thank you again for hanging out with me and breaking bread. Endless Studio is here to stay, and I'm so happy to be a part of this movement. By way of getting out of here, I'm just going to play a little bit for you. Have a great day. All right, guys. Well, anyway, that's the flow state you want to get into when you get into Endless Studio. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Much love, much respect. Peace.